is Governor Bobber. I like good day, doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Go!
You're watching Dr. Politics.
They're Dr. Politics. He's the one to see. Breaking down the news with sharp analysis. From Congress halls to campaign trails, he tells the truth when all else fails. They're Dr. Politics. Dr. Politics. Exposing the spin, the lies and tricks. Dr. Politics. Dr. Politics. He calls it straight, no politics as usual. Love from backroom deals to primetime fights. He sheds some light and sets things right. Debates, elections, policy. He cuts through all the DC sleaze. Oh, Dr. Politics. He's got the facts. Dr. Politics. No holding back. Dr. Politics. Go away. Dr. Politics, he's got the facts. Dr. Politics, no holding back. Dr. Politics.
Hey everyone, good Friday evening, everyone. It's January 21. Wow, January is almost January 23rd, I should say. 2026. The month is almost over. And a lot of news this week.
What news?
Yeah, I tell you, my favorite story this week is the outrage amongst Democrats of when they allege ICE officers picked up a 5-year-old on his way to school, and they're all offending outrage, and it's kind of just funny, And to that, I must say, they're outraged, but remember when Democrats did this to another child? The ICE agents did not do this.
Dwight, I love how you always have this picture at the ready for things.
Yeah, well, this goes with an article Ian wrote about the events of the ICE agents. But I think it's amusing that Democrats are outraged, and it's almost as bad as the left is outraged that people are calling out the latest Star Trek series, Starfleet Academy, as being woke. And their biggest outrage is somebody made a comment about why is somebody bald and why is somebody wearing glasses, And we know from Next Generation they've cured blindness, and we know that they can grow kidneys back, as we saw in Star Trek 4, The Journey Home. It's like, hello. Oh, it's the big deal here.
Yeah, there is a lot of left-wing liberal outrage at what's going on, but for them, a lot of that is deflection because, especially in Minnesota, after all the Somali, fraud and everything like that, this has kind of pushed that front and center, and push that, just taking that off the front pages. Yeah. Probably much to Governor Walz's relief in that sense, but all that cost him his job. This problem of fraud still exists, so that's not going away. Do ICE tactics, are they the best? I think sometimes you might be able to call some of that into question, but the fact remains, by and large, what they've been doing across the country is trying to find the illegals that came here that were criminals, and also those that have committed criminal acts since they've been here, and get them out of this country.
Yeah,
I don't see a problem in that.
Yeah,
And
the other day,
it's
Jamie.
going to be me.
The other day, Jamie Raskin. I think it was just yesterday. Jamie Raskin, our esteemed Congressman Don. He basically went on a tirade about all the fraud associated. He deflected and he said, "What aboutism?" As in, what about Donald Trump and his fraud? He's been convicted of fraud. He gave money to a prostitute. He's involved in mail fraud. And like, are you going to throw in some recipe for apple pie too in your little tirade you're going on for about 15 minutes or so? But yeah, I'll tell you this: our ICE friends are doing a yeoman's work out there. They are rounding up the bad guys, and they're basically being treated as they're the criminals when they're picking up the criminals. The people they picked up have been pedophiles, rapists, traffickers, and people that have DUIs and all sorts of other unspeakable crimes. And you've got the media now is saying, oh, it's like, these are just people that want to work hard. I am getting tired of that excuse from the left. Oh, they're just trying to work hard and support. No, they're not. A lot of the people are criminals. Fraud is a crime. Just ask Webb Hubble, about mail fraud, or ask. Fraud is a serious crime. Right now we've got crimes when people are stealing people's mortgage theft, not mortgage theft, home title theft, where people are creating phony documents and stealing people's houses by getting loans, and you don't find out about it. Those are not victimless crimes, as a lot on the left seem to want to chastise and put things down as a victimless crime. But no, these are victimless. They do have victims, especially ones that use fake Social Security numbers. I remember several years ago, I got a thing from the IRS saying, "Oh, I didn't pay somebody on taxes," and I'm like, "This isn't me. I've never worked as a what do you call it? It was for like a waiter or something like that." I'm like, "I've never worked as a waiter." I've got, I was like, this is not me, And you got to go through. To its credit, it was, this was during
I don't know.
The Trump days. Trump won.
Sure.
And the IRS was really good about it, and they did clear it up relatively fast, for government standards.
Yeah, you use an accountant, right, Dwight? So
yes, yeah.
And I started using one a few years ago. I'm like, I think that helps lock that down a little bit better because, you give them the material, and they go ahead and prepare the returns. They file it, and they basically become the first line of defense.
Yep.
Should the IRS have an issue, and they can ferret out. Any request you get, you can always just send it to them, and then they'll say, no, nothing to see here or whatever.
Yeah.
So you're paying for their services that they provide to prepare the return.
That is money well spent, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it is. I think there's a peace of mind. I could do my taxes cheaper, but I don't really want to spend a lot of time on it. So I'm like, I just give them the documents and let them fuss with it, and then I know that if there's any issues, they're going to answer the questions for me, and I'm not going to have to deal with that. I won't lose any sleep.
Susan, you are so right about those phone calls. I get at least 6 calls a day at the minimum saying that I've been pre-approved for a loan of $75,000 or more, with payments as low as $400 a month. First of all, I never applied for a loan. Why are you trying to give me money? I don't want that. I'm in a position where I can give you a loan if you want, but you're not going to pay my interest rates. But the bottom line is, it's like there is so much about. the spams and the spam calls and all that stuff. It is really infuriating, So I've gotten to the point where I don't take calls. If I don't know the number, I'm not going to take the call. Leave me a message, and I'll call you back.
Yeah, I think AT&T. I'm on to AT&T, and they do identify some of the calls. Say spam risk. But I'm like you. If I don't recognize the number, if they're not in my contacts or something I'm expecting, then I'm not picking up that phone, at all. Just leave me a voicemail message, and invariably, calls like that, there is no voicemail message, right?
Yeah, usually there's no message on those, or the scams, they don't want to leave a message. So,
And I hate to say this, the RNC
oh
is
yeah.
now they're making calls and they have robots calling. And at first I thought I was talking to her. Then I go, hey, hold on 1 second. Let me get some. And I go, by the way, so how are things over at the RNC? You guys get gearing up for this year? Have you guys? And it goes, I get like some response that's like, okay, you're a robot. Goodbye. I don't talk to robots.
So Dwight, I'm going to call you on Monday during my donor call hours, just so you get a call from a live person shamelessly asking for money.
There you go. Okay, that's fair. But I don't mind talking to real people. It's just these, I get like I don't even those RNC calls. I hate to say they're a little deceptive because they use local numbers, so you think it might be somebody you know. I just got I don't answer it. Sometimes their numbers are close to someone else's. You go, is it that? Is it 1-2 or 3-2? And then you answer it and you realize it's spam.
I guess that's the advantage. So I don't think I've given to the RNC in like 20 years. I gave up giving them any money. So I don't get any phone calls from them anymore, thank goodness.
Yeah, they're like, you're supposed to, and I was like, give it a rest. Seriously, we have stuff going on in Maryland. You're not going to help us in Maryland with anything. Because I remember I used to get calls a lot in 2014. I go, so what are you guys going to do to help Larry Hogan over the finish line? And then they go, oh, well, our focus is really blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, sorry, my focus is Larry Hogan, And they don't seem to understand that, I mean, I understand the RNC needs money. Somebody's got to pay for that beautiful building they've got over there. I don't think Capitol Hill membership dues is enough. Cover the cost of keeping everything going at the RNC, But those spam calls. Then I've actually gotten calls where they leave a voicemail with somebody talking in Chinese. And it's like, I think you've got the wrong number.
Yeah.
But there is in the junk mail, I tell you. I had like so much junk mail on one of my email accounts. And because now everyone uses IMAP post to pop, it's such a pain to delete. I deleted the email address, and created the exact same email address again. That wiped out all of those junk mails. Now I've actually gotten better at knocking them out as they come in, opposed to just waiting them pile up for 5 years or so.
Yeah, I mean, I think Google's done a fair job considering it's a free service of basically pushing junk email to a junk folder, which spam folder, which I never look at. I think I've missed a few emails that are legit along the way, but there's a lot of emails that I get, even if I subscribe to them. If they send them that way, I'm not going to miss them because I'm not reading all my emails anyway.
As my granddad would say, he'll get a letter he may not open. Because if it was really important, they'd pick up the phone and care to call me. He told me they wouldn't put it in the letter. And that was more like those personal, because back in his days, people did send personal letters and stuff like that. But I mean, getting back to Minnesota, and I mean, I think that assault on a church, that was, and Don Lemon, I think, was a collaborator. He was not I like how everybody calls it. He embedded with the protester. No, he didn't embed. He was there. He was part of the problem there.
Well, it wasn't spontaneous. I think he got tipped off that was happening. So he's trying to use his name and leverage his name. And the fact now that he's an independent journalist, right? He's not with CNN anymore. He needs to build a following and everything like that. So this was an opportunity. I mean, everything that happens in Minneapolis is just part of a left-wing Democratic attempt to say this is what Donald Trump stands for, and it's this way they can try to influence the 2026 midterm. I think it's between the economy will be a big factor by November, as well as the fact as to how much of the redistricting that Trump wanted, whether or not it actually winds up being advantageous to the Republicans, because the Democrats have jumped all in on that. and they're largely going to negate, I think, a lot of that. So, Trump may have made a huge mistake by trying to do this, redistricting in the midterms rather than leaving things where they were before. I mean, Trump's had a good year overall, but he's also given Democrats several openings, to take back the House of Representatives in the fall, chip away at the Senate, and just kind of make his last 3 years harder. But so there's a lot of self-inflicted damage on his part.
I mean, we just saw Governor Westmore's map, which, by the way, is very anti-state law for borders and so on. You're not allowed to basically do what he's doing. You're supposed to preserve the territorial integrity when possible of congressional lines. Theoretically, Montgomery County most of it would be one congressional district, maybe as little small isthmus across the top could be part of District 6, but most of it should be District 8, frankly. But according to the maps, they're bringing District 4 back into Montgomery County. They're bringing, and it's just a horrible, horrible idea. And I think you need to preserve, the cultural lines as well, frankly. People in Cumberland have nothing in common with people in Montgomery County, frankly. The needs and priorities are completely different. Montgomery County District 6 voters' biggest priority is if they run out of caviar at the country club. And that's a life-altering crisis for them. While in Cumberland, hey, if the power goes off, it gets really cold here. When are we going to have somebody come by to do that? Fix the power lines. Or, hey, the roads are crap driving out here. When are we going to get? When we get better internet service? When we get better cell phone coverage out in Western Maryland? Although cell phone coverage has gotten a lot better than it used to be. I don't know if you remember, Chris, because that is the district you'll be running in. Yep. Is that over in Western Maryland? It used to be the worst cell coverage in the state of Maryland. And now it's gotten better. And actually, I switched over to T-Mobile just recently. And T-Mobile, if you want to sponsor us, feel free to. That was my big concern. I go, hey, so they showed me, evidently now, T-Mobile getting really good coverage with T-Mobile all the way out in Western Maryland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, look, when you're a state like Maryland, where you've already pretty much eliminated the chance of Republicans to get elected, there's not much more you can do except you can look at 6 and say, let's make that less competitive. Let's carve it up a little bit so that there is no chance for any Republican to even get close. And, because they control that. I mean, Virginia's going to have, I think they're definitely looking at wiping out the Republicans as much as possible. So, all of this is, if Trump had left this alone in Texas and elsewhere, I think, it would have been fine, and just let the elections move in the process they have, and we would have been fine. But, with some of these state legislatures, they're taking up their arms and they're fighting back and they're having success. And I don't know if the net effect won't be that the Democrats will stand a better chance of taking over Congress, here in the fall. It's a little bit up in the air.
There's a lot
but
of
remember, Indiana had their chance, and the Republican legislature balked on that. But I don't know that the Virginia Democrats will. In fact, they already have their constitutional amendment, their referendum.
Yeah, it's going to be a referendum.
The referendum. But it is maybe flawed. There's a lawyer that says the way that's written, it has language in there to reverse the unfairness. They have this line in there which people would challenge. Well, what unfairness are you talking about? Because it was done by a bipartisan commission. So, it may have hurdles, and then it may be defeated. But if it's done in a low turnout election, there may be enough Democrats that will come out to vote to get it done. But we'll see. But yeah, not
where's Eric Holder's commission, right?
Yeah.
well, it's a tough process because for most of the 20th century, we Republicans were sort of shut out. Democrats controlled the legislature. Then we came back in, and we got to redistrict. We have the bipartisan commission, which now they're trying to get around. And actually, it's pretty fair because the current congressional makeup is 6-5 Democrat, and they're going to want to go for, basically, probably 9-1 really is about the best they can do or so because you got Southwest Virginia. I don't know if there's much they can do.
I remember when Norfolk in that area was actually a good Republican area when George Allen represented that area.
Yeah, it used to be Democrat though back because they had big unions back in the day.
Yeah, but George, his congressional district was out that way. It was.
Well, he was the 7th, but yeah, no, Southwest is pretty good now. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But look, Virginia, I think wants to do kind of what Maryland has done, right? Is try to have just give the Republicans the one district, and we get all the rest.
Yeah.
And then in 5 years they'll take out that one Republican district too. Is what they'll do.
Yeah, Andy Harris has had a target on his back for years. But you legitimately cannot take that away. Then that would be just incredibly ridiculous. So this is the Democrats, using that as cover to say, well, look, they still a Republican in Maryland, albeit there's just one.
Yeah.
I remember we were 4-4.
Yeah, I do too, because I do too. You had Gilchrist, you had Morella, you had Bartlett.
And Gilchrist really wasn't even a Republican. He was a Democrat. So.
And you had Ehrlich. You had Ehrlich was the 4th.
Actually, it was Helen Bentley before Ehrlich.
Oh, that's right.
Helen D. Bentley.
You're right, but Gilchrist was always kind of bad. Yeah, Gilchrist was never...
she was the only Republican that got on the House floor and said, I stand with my Serbian brother, Slobodan Milosevic.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah. I heard she wasn't the nice. I never met her, but I heard she wasn't the nicest person.
No, she was not the nicest person. She was probably one of the meanest of the meanest members of the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
Actually, Connie Morell is probably one of the nicest ones. Actually, Connie was very.
She was a nice person.
Who else was really nice was Susan Molinari.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Your Congressman Frank Wolf was another. He was a heck of a nice guy too.
Yeah, he was something. Yeah.
Stan Paris was really cool too. But
yeah, I remember Stan. First campaign I ever volunteered for was his gubernatorial campaign.
He ran for governor.
Yeah, he ran for governor in '89.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. He lost to Marshall Coleman, I take it, in the primary.
Yeah, that's right. Lost to Marshall, and then we had Paul Tribble, the senator who dropped out, who then decided to run for governor. So.
Yeah, it's a shame Marshall never got to be governor.
Yeah, he always wanted that. He was very ambitious, Marshall.
I always thought that Coleman, one of the mistakes he made really was just that,
an independent run for Senate against Stalin.
Well, he was very pro-life, but then he moderated his position and kind of, became kind of middle on that, and he was trying to, play up to both sides, and it's like, on a pro-life issue, you're either pro-life or you're not. It's like you start to waffle on that. And I think he lost a lot of support from the pro-life movement because he started to waffle on that issue, and I think that was one of the things that doomed him. Because otherwise, I think he was doing pretty well. He was a solid candidate otherwise.
Yeah. Then you also had Coleman Andrews, the other Coleman in Virginia politics.
Andrews,
he kind of went away. He had some problems. He was running for lieutenant governor or AG
lieutenant governor, I think.
Yeah.
Well, this weekend I'll try to get a column up on what's going on in Richmond with Spanberger Mandami.
Take a look. You should take a look at the article Jimmy Schwartz wrote on Virginia's great political bait and switch. How now Abigail Spanberger.
I read that. David Hersani, I think, wrote a piece, and there was a piece in the Examiner on that. Maybe it's by the same person, but I read that today. Yeah.
Now
Yeah,
basically she's morphed into Zoran Mamdani.
Yeah. Now, I guess in fairness to her, these are some bills have come out now. The legislature are being introduced and are going to pass. I don't know if she'll sign or veto, but I think she's going to be bad enough. I think most of them she'll sign. In terms of her appointments, they're already bad. She's got like a woke DEI chief.
I think she's going to make Ralph Northam look like a right winger when she's done.
Yeah, and she's appointing Ralph Northam to some things as well. So she's horrible. Yeah.
What about Terry? Is Terry not getting a job?
I don't know. They're both bad. Yeah, they're both really bad. So we'll see if there's going to be buyer's remorse. I would think there'd be buyer's remorse, but then I don't know if Virginia's gotten as bad politically, if it's at Maryland level at this point or not. I don't know if it's that bad politically.
I know you guys are having. When is your RPV convention? It's coming up, isn't it?
I don't know.
Because I think there's going to be a new chairman, and there seems to be kind of a fight about who the new chairman should be.
That's right. I know one of the candidates.
The Fairfax people, I think, want Mrs. Gorsuch.
Yeah, that's right.
Not Gorsuch. Gorka, Mrs. Gorka.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. She's the Fairfax chair now at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, the one advantage to Virginia is that it's one term, so Republicans have a chance to retake that. So
true.
And I think people get buyer's remorse by summer in Virginia. I think people that vote for her are going to regret it.
Oh, yeah, we're going to, it's funny because in just basically 48 hours, the legislature ends up, in effect, passing all these California type measures. And they just didn't.
How is that going to help affordability, Dave? How is that going to help affordability?
No, it's not really.
Abigail ran on affordability,
That's right. Yeah.
Affordability, that whole thing is such a crock.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, you're right.
So, Chris, you getting a lot of questions about affordability while you're a lot of questions?
I am. They're good questions. The Democrats, I've said it before, they're great at creating an issue, pointing at the issue, and then blaming everybody else for it. So you have Trone and Delaney, who are probably the least two qualified people to talk about affordability, barking about it. And then I'm touting the innovation corridor, saying if you don't have a plan to address jobs, opportunity, and energy, then you're not really talking about affordability. So it's been this has worked out well because it allows me to field those questions, and I really enjoy talking about the innovation corridor because it's got an opportunity to really reinvent CD6.
I agree. I totally agree with that. And I think here's the thing. Democrats just discovered affordability in 2025. Where were they in 2020? 2022?
2021 all that spending.
When gas was over $5 a gallon, where were they about affordability? When food, come on, cookies are now $5 for a pack of cookies. Granted, I gave up cookies for 2026 for 90 days, so we are at, day 23 of cookie free, and but you got a bag of chips. They've shrunk those down. They're like, you have to buy like 1 million of them to get them at $1.99 a piece. Otherwise, they're like $4.99 for a small pack of chips. What's up with that is what I like to say. It's like, it is crazy, And this was all started during Joe Biden's era.
If I'm not mistaken, wasn't it referred to as transitory inflation? That it was going to be this little blip.
Yeah.
It certainly was not transitory.
No, it's
but it was caused. It was caused by the likes of Abigail Spanberger, who in Congress voted to all that spending in 21 when we were basically out of the pandemic. There's no need to, and people had cash. And once the economy opened, there was going to be a real risk of inflation anyway. You didn't need to start spending money the way they did, but they did, and that got us the inflation. But now They talk about affordability. Now they're concerned about affordability.
I don't think I'd try a dollar store pack of cookies, Craig. Nothing against the dollar store, but I'm not going to eat cookies from a dollar store.
You know, the cheapest TV dinners, fast food dinner, those banquet dinners, you ever tried those? They're like $2 for one. And the Celeste pizza, I got 10 for $10.
Yeah, so that was because Safeway had them on sale, or Giant had them on sale.
That's right.
Those are like $1.99.
I used to buy those. I used to buy those all the time when I was younger.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder what size.
Yeah.
What's the size of the pizza now, Dave? How many ounces is that?
Let's take a look. Original, 350 calories. I don't know the times the size, but it's
what,
it's
8 inch?
It fills me up. Just one.
See, I like the McCain Elios brand, frankly. Actually, they're not McCain's Elios; they're just Elios now. I think.
Elios is good.
I really, and what's funny is those used to be like $1.99 for a pack of, a 3-pack. Now they're like $5. Although they were on sale at Safeway this week.
Good deal.
You had to buy like 5 of them to get them at $2.49 each.
I mean, the Journal within the last couple of weeks, wrote an article about how pizza sales all across the country are way down.
Yeah.
Americans' love affair with pizza is kind of on the wane. I mean, ingredients, and cost so much, and wages have gone up, and everything like that. That the cost of a pizza pie, is just has just gone through the roof.
Yeah, I mean, I remember at Jerry's Pizza and Subs, you could get a large pizza for $4.99. $4.99. And now a large pizza is roughly about $10, $20, $25.
Oh yeah, $25 you got to spend if you're not getting a discount. So that's what makes like the Costco pizza.
Yeah,
the best deal around, because you get a big pizza for very little.
By the way, Continental Pizza in Kensington, Maryland, one of the best pizzas in the entire state of Maryland.
Yeah, I haven't been over there, but that little shop has been there forever, it seems.
Yeah, who used to work there? Our friend Dr. John used to work there when he was in high school and college.
That's funny.
And I was showing him the menu once recently, and he goes, prices haven't gone up that much. Yeah, because you get a large for about $10. Then with toppings, you get like $15 a large pizza. And they make the square pizzas because they don't cut any corners,
Right. I've been amazed at the price of fast food, how that's gone up over the last few years. That's been kind of a surprise.
I know. What's the Shamrock Shake going to cost this year is what I want.
Yeah, but that goes back to what you're talking about, David. Is just about, we go back to the Biden years where they're spending all this money. Yeah. And what did we wind up with? We wound up with, 5.1% average inflation during 4 years of Biden. Yeah. We did see a lot of, we also saw the big fight for 15. And so in order to keep up with the inflation, wages went up astronomically in a lot of cases on the lower end. But where are those wages? Those are in the service sector, which are fast food, all these places.
Yep.
Those guys they run on fairly thin margins. I mean,
how's that $15 an hour working out for these people?
An hour minimum wage, or if they were paying $10 and now they've got to pay 15 to 20. I mean, look at Aldi and all these other grocery stores. They used to advertise like $12 an hour to start. Now I think they're up to 18 or 19. Mm-hmm. Well, that they're not eating that. They're going to pass that along and cost so that everybody pays for that. So you go to a McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, whatever, you look at the burger price or whatever, and you're like, whoa, what is that?
Yeah. I remember you could get a Biggie fries for under $1. I think a Biggie fries was 99 cents. Not Biggie. What did McDonald's call their big? Was it Max? What did McDonald's call their? It wasn't Biggie fries. Was Wendy's.
Supersize.
Supersize. 99 cents. You get a supersized French fries, right? Now a large French fries is I think close to $2.
Whoa. Yeah, I think when's the last time you've been there? It's like $4.50 for a large fry.
I haven't gone to McDonald's. I only go to McDonald's for Shamrock Shakes. I really don't get anything else when I go there. $4.50 for a large fry.
So I hate to admit this. I mean, we know with a family of 6, when we're on the road, we go to McDonald's. It's about $80 for us
Wow.
to go and get, for everybody to get, Happy Meals for the little kids. We don't do it very often, but when we do it, I mean, it's an event. It's
And if you got, I mean, and you know the sad thing,
$80 to go to
I
McDonald's.
hope you're using the McDonald's app so you can get some points and earn some free food.
We don't go nearly enough for that, but when we go, it stings.
Well,
I can't
well,
believe it.
David's the big McDonald's expert. I mean, you eat it there a lot, and I'm sure you're earning enough to earn some free food.
Yeah. Yeah, but I try to cut it back a little bit because I'm cholesterol issues and got to lose some weight, so I try to resist as much as I can. But I like it. But I try to resist.
I think you know who is. If you want to go to know what apps has the best deals, Chris is your guy. Chris will tell you like free fries Fridays. He's always trying to get me to go to McDonald's on Fridays for free fries. I don't know if they've done that, if they stopped that or not. But I mean,
well, they do. I mean, usually what it is it's called it's Friday, right? FRYD.
yeah.
And usually what it is that you get the fries for $1 with some kind of minimum purchase. That is a standard fast food offer these days. Is that you get an order of fries for that? So,
Like I mean, he has the Shake Shack app, and I think Shake Shack, for the quality of milkshake or the quality of the French fries, because frankly, there's nothing else there I can eat. It's overpriced. It is seriously overpriced. If I'm going to spend that much on a milkshake, I'd rather go to Cold Stone or Dairy Queen, frankly.
Well, I'll say this about McDonald's. They've done a good job in this inflationary time these last few years of holding the prices down. It's still going up and it's still more expensive, but I'm still impressed that they've been able to hold it down, I think, better than some others because
I mean, corporate, they do kind of come up with these programs and promotions. It doesn't make the franchise owners very happy because a lot of times that squeezes them. That was the problem for Subway. Corporate would say you've got to have the $5 foot long, and the franchises would say we're going to lose money. And so there are battles between when you have a lot of franchisees. This becomes a little bit harder because corporate guys are saying, well, we need to get sales up, so we need to have these, need to have a dollar menu, which is now the kind of the value menu. We went to the 1, 2, 3 menu. And they tried various iterations because the cost of ingredients has gone through. I mean, if you're a McDonald's or a lot of the fast food places where you're focusing on burgers, beef prices have just gone crazy. So what do you do? It's really, really hard to run a business when your costs are just skyrocketing.
I mean, as a vegetarian, I'll say this. I could be off, but I think the price of beef today is what Kobe beef used to cost 10 years ago.
Maybe.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I don't know what it used to go, but I mean, beef has gotten very expensive. The cattle herds are been thinned out a lot, so there's just not a lot of cattle out there to be slaughtered to provide the beef. So we're just in one of these periods where this is happening, and so if you like beef, you're going to pay up for it.
And it's I mean, I remember when I was in college, the trick was to go to Taco Bell and spend a full $5, right, without getting change back. You get a lot of food for under $5. You'd have to really stretch it to get to $5 at Taco Bell. Now Taco Bell's, I think it cost, God, I haven't been there in a long time, so I could be wrong, but I mean the regular burritos that used to be like 49 cents is now $1.99 or something like that.
Yeah, probably.
And everything, Taco Bell has the cheapest of cheap ingredients, frankly. None of that stuff costs a lot of money. They're just keeping up with the Joneses, frankly, when they raise prices on their food.
Yeah, they probably, they really have tried to be a lot of value to people. They've introduced a lot of stuff, and look, there's a lot of fast food that is cheap. You don't get a big bang for your buck, but you feel psychologically like if I paid $1 or $1.99 for something, that's cheap enough, and that's what I'm going to do. I mean, look, the administration says what is it, $3? You can get a good meal for $3. And he told me, he's like, which is kind of, it's really a little fringy in terms of what the agriculture department said would, for $3 and is your meal.
You're not getting a Maha meal for $3. I'll tell you that much.
I mean, it was like this piece of chicken and the tortilla and whatever. It's just like, yeah, that's most people cannot. They're not going to survive on that.
Yeah. I mean, what is it? I remember. Oh, by the way, this past week when I was at Safeway on Monday, they had like 4 shopping carts full of candy. The small Halloween type candies for 99 cents. They had like the Almond Joys, they had the Hershey's, they had a couple other, I think Twix and a couple other brands. And I'm like, if I were really into candy, I would buy like the entire cart of these, right? But I really haven't had a desire to have candy at all, since I gave it up last year for the 90 days. And it turned out to be a 365 day, no candy year. But I'll tell you this, that's extremely, but I tell you, I went back to the same Safeway after all the candy was gone.
Sure.
I wonder if some, like, those people that have like, we don't have bodegas, but those people that have those small stores, like the Asian stores or not. I wonder if somebody from there like came and bought every last one so they could resell it for like $1 a piece or 25 cents each or something, or 50 cents each at their store.
I guarantee that. I grew up going to garage sales and flea markets, and you'd see people like hawking what looked like brand new. It's that they're buying stuff on clearance and then trying to resell it for cash.
Yep.
I mean, hey, good
I
on
tell
it.
you.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, but I
tell
bet
you
somebody
this,
came and bought all of it.
That's basically kind of the pre-eBay days, right? I mean,
yeah.
People buy stuff and resell it on eBay or Amazon, and
what I wish out here that we don't have, which we have in Florida. I wish we had flea markets. I love going to flea markets. And those Florida flea markets, you can find anything there. I mean, there's a guy there was a replica Stinger missile launcher there. They had a replica howitzer. I'm like, you find everything here. It's like Alice's restaurant, But
all right.
I mean,
maybe it's time, Dwight, to go back to the news.
Oh yeah. That is true. Yeah.
How about we talk a little bit about Davos? That dominated the news cycle.
Yeah, Davos.
Trump went to Davos.
The peace board.
Yeah.
We have.
What struck me is I never heard a president take digs at others like Trump did. He took a dig at Mark Carney and something about Macron's sunglasses.
Yeah, so I get the work. What we're seeing though is that Macron he had some kind of eye issue, right, or whatever.
Oh, was that it?
Yeah, but those sunglasses attracted all the attention.
Yeah.
I thought it was AI at first.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. I mean, it was like,
and now we have Greenland. Without us having to buy it, we'd have to pay for it, but we can do whatever we want in Greenland now, evidently.
But it's interesting how people took him so seriously, and he finally said, "I'm not gonna use force on Greenland." I know everyone's so relieved now, but yeah. So I don't think.
I don't know why we get
come
back. We remember his comments about during World War II. We defended Greenland. I don't know why we ever gave that. That was the stupidest.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I mean, if you read about Greenland, though, they've got what 56,000 residents or whatever.
Yeah.
There's really not much in the way of industry. The jobs. I mean, it costs Denmark a ton of money to subsidize, Greenland.
Yeah, and
we don't need to do that part of it.
Yeah, I was told all they have economically is they sell some fish, basically seafood, shrimp.
Yeah,
but there's really nothing else. There's not much else to it.
Right.
And you're right. That's 50,000 people.
Remember, that was all Eric the Red. Remember Eric the Red? Iceland is green and called it Iceland and called Greenland Greenland. That's all Eric
correct.
the Red.
And Trump made a couple mistakes in the speech. He said, "All we want is Iceland," but it's not Iceland. It was Greenland. We got those two confused.
So how's this? The president
not the
also
first
has
time
his
he's
eyes.
confused things.
Yeah.
No, but how's this? What if the president actually didn't confuse it with a child balloon? Maybe I can get Iceland too. 2 for 1, 2 for 1 sale.
No, I think it was just a mistake because he,
Yeah.
in his mind, he kept thinking it's all ice. So
Yeah.
Iceland, but
Yeah. I mean, we don't. I mean, it's one thing. It's one thing to, to add some military, or whatever. If you want to have some defense forces, I don't have a problem with that. I don't see any need to like buy Greenland or do anything else with that. It's like, why does the U.S. need to throw money at a country that is, basically doesn't offer us much? Just we already have $38 trillion in debt. Do we really want to add to that?
Well, we'd have access to the rare earth
Denmark is
minerals.
going to foot the bill. Let them foot the bill.
I mean, we've got the mineral rights, so we could do our rare earth minerals. And by the way, rare earth minerals aren't really that rare. We just don't have. We're just not mining for them. We would mine for those in Texas and get.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's overblown. I mean, there's that frenzy about rare earth minerals, but I think
they're not really rare. That's the biggest thing. Rare earth minerals are not rare. We just don't bother. They weren't until recently. They weren't that important for us.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to figure out. I think where we get them from at this point. It's just that it's cheaper to get them elsewhere than to go and set up shop and do it ourselves. It's kind of that, and so you look at that and they're like, okay, but yeah, I mean, if we really wanted to go mine rare earth minerals, we could find a way to do that. It just would be a little more costly. Yeah. So we go after these places where it would be cheaper to do so, but then sometimes I mean, the administration doesn't quite get the messaging right, and creates this kerfuffle unnecessarily. In the end, it kind of works out. I mean, Trump's first year still, by and large, has been pretty good, even with stumbles that he's had. So I mean, I can't argue too much with that. But I think year number 2, you've got to show some more progress. If he's going to join the left wing game of affordability, then he better find a way to actually lower things that he can actually control, instead of doing a lot of the nonsense that he does at this point. So so we're going to start off at what, 2.6, 2.7 inflation compared to 3% last year. Stock market's up, but the president doesn't really have a lot of influence over that, except what he says can move markets, but it's not like, it's because of the policies. But oil prices were down, gas prices were down. You want to see those continue to go in that direction. But we have this massive storm coming through, and so that has sent natural gas prices up. Not much you can do about that, because that is supply and demand in the market, the way that we have always been used to that. When winter's over, the price will drop again.
Well, when talking about his first year, I just think that it was a very, very good year, because think about it. If he just did 4 things, that is secure the border, peace in Gaza, get rid of Maduro, and destroy Iran's nuclear program, just those 4 things ought to be enough to say, wow, that was a really good first year. But that's not the way people think, I guess. And Trump sort of hurts himself by the sort of pettiness at times he gets into. I think he's 80% good, but there's 10% of him that's pretty petty, and he can't hold the pettiness down. And then 10% are just wacky, where he and Elizabeth Warren will agree on cap credit card interest rates, or a 40-year
No. Elizabeth
mortgage.
Warren is against it now. She's against capping it because President Trump is for it.
But I think Jamie Dimon is probably right on this one, that if you start doing that, it's going to make it tougher for people to get credit. Now, Trump's argument is I think it's just 1 year capped at 10%. I don't know if that'll do.
Well, we don't even know if he has the authority to do that anyway.
Yeah.
He throws a lot of stuff out there to see what sticks. He does get people riled up about this stuff, and a lot of these things won't hold. Whether or not his tariffs will pass muster, that seems to be kind of in danger, that the Supreme Court may not uphold his tariff authority that he has put into place, and he'll have to find other ways of doing that. his ability to play politics at the Fed. He's technically fired Lisa Cook, but she's still on the job because she's fighting back, and whether or not he has the ability to fire her, whether or not she really committed any fraud on the mortgage, I think that's a little fuzzy. So he's gone after a lot of things. I don't really like the look from Trump of, after we spent these 4 years of Biden, we went through so much lawfare on the part of the Biden administration against conservatives, to see Donald Trump come back and do basically the same exact thing. There are people that deserve to be prosecuted, but there are a lot of people that he's gone after where it just kind of blows up in his face, and you're like, this is not a good look. You went after these people because you wanted retribution, but that's all you wanted. You didn't have a very good legal case to make this go. So why are you doing that? You appointed all these people, to be prosecutors, and you get them for 120 days, but they can't. That's it. When their 120 days is up, they're gone. And some of them weren't qualified to be there in the first place. They had never prosecuted cases like this to begin with. So there's a lot of messiness to the way he's gone about and done a lot of these things. But by and large, it's been a good year. So I hope the next 3 years will be good as well.
I'm really curious about the tariffs at the Supreme Court. I think it's going to be a split decision. I think they're going to say an overwhelming majority that there's a national security benefit, and that the president has the sole authority for that capacity. And then anyone that was arbitrary or capricious, like the one against Canada for the argument he was in, that would be set aside. I'm genuinely curious to see how they address that. I do not think they will kick all of them out. I think you're going to see an overwhelming majority in saying, look, our supply chains are vulnerable. These bilateral, multilateral trade agreements leave us vulnerable, and that the president is the voice when we get into those matters of national security. And as long as he can make an argument, or there's a connection to a national security interest, he can impose a tariff. It's the ones where there's no national security implication that those might get thrown out. I think that'll be a small minority, 10, 20%.
The tariffs are interesting because, David, I don't know if I know you get the journal online and whatnot, but they ran a story the other day that was a study by the Kiel Institute, and I don't know who they are, on tariffs, and they said that something I think was 96% of the tariffs have been absorbed by American companies and American consumers. That actually the foreign, the nations where Trump has imposed the tariffs, they have not absorbed much of any of the tariff hit, and rather than dealing with the tariff hit, they've gone to other, they've redirected their business to other countries that don't have those kind of punitive tariffs. And we I think inflation would be a tad lower. That was one of, I think, the interesting things we learned from this whole exercise, is that the tariffs that Trump imposed were not nearly as inflationary as everybody said they were going to be. It has added a little bit, but it's added 1 or 2 tenths. Not insignificant, but not rampant inflation, and it hasn't wrecked the economy. I think when you look back at this past year and think about all the prognostications about, we're going to see inflation increase because of tariffs, we're going to see a recession because of this, and joblessness will increase rapidly. We just haven't seen that. The Trump economy has defied all expectations, despite all of the stuff that he's done. So we may have a whole new normal, as in terms of how we deal with things going forward.
Yeah, and I know a lot of there's a whole lot of think tanks. I mean, at right of center, or like Competitive Enterprise Institute, as well as Cato, and I want to say Reason, and those guys. They've actually made quite several cases, and they've kind of not backpedaled, but they said, the tariffs have not been as bad as originally forecast, frankly.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as I thought, and it depends on what's being tariffed, and sometimes the threat of it could be used as a good negotiating tool, I suppose. Maybe it can help bring in some companies. Hey, come here, avoid the tariffs. So there's some benefit to it, but overall it tends to be inflationary. But I think a lot of that depends on what it is being tariffed, because sometimes consumers can find other things and it doesn't affect inflation that much. So
one thing in our family that we know, since my wife spends a lot of time shopping at Asian supermarkets for certain things, is that there has been a tremendous increase in prices in those goods that are coming from various countries. Is just that, she, like, I think it's like the bottle of fish sauce is more than doubled. These are kinds of things is that's where her very pro-Trump stance, kind of takes a little bit of a hit, because she's like this, she's pretty sure a lot of this has to do with tariffs, as to, it doesn't make any sense for her, to her, as to why these prices have more than doubled on a lot of these products. So it's, I mean, we buy a lot of rice, and during the pandemic that rose tremendous, but at least that has seemed to come back down to a more reasonable level, but it's nowhere near where it was pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
And we're actually at final thoughts, Don. So
time flies when you're having fun.
I know. Let's start with Chris. How was your week on the campaign trail? I saw you go everywhere.
It's been a busy week, and that was always the plan, as we kind of took our foot off the gas a little bit in November of December last year for family and travel and everything else. So I've been every day. I've had multiple events to sort of reintroduce myself for the election year, highlight the innovation corridor, and then also really starting to expand out the concentric circles of folks that we've been trying to hit repeatedly, now trying to push further and further out into you're not your political activist types, your folks that are now starting to take the midterms more seriously, looking at those unaffiliated voters in Montgomery and Frederick. So it's been great. It's been really busy, but it's been a really good start to the year. We've got a couple of big fundraisers coming up. A big one at Congressional Country Club. It'll be probably early March. Mayan Monkey, we're going to do a college and young Republican event here in the next couple of weeks. We've got a gun bash coming up in Hagerstown again. This is going to be at North American Rod and Gun Club. We're going to be doing a couple of wineries up in Frederick over the next few months, which are always enjoyable. And then I try to do one or two small events per week. And that's just like a kitchen table fundraiser, kitchen table political discussion. So it's been a great start to 2026. Really looking forward to just gaining and increasing the momentum through the spring and summer, and looking forward to what will be a surprising red wave. I think this is it's gonna surprise some people, but I think as the national security issues turn the corner, as the economy turns the corner, I think we're going to be much better off than most people are predicting right now.
Yep. And well, Dave stepped away.
Where does he keep going? Here it comes back again.
Here's Dave.
Last thing I'll say, I've gone at least 6 hours without a cookie, so I commend you for going several weeks.
Yeah. It's only for 90 days, But, who knows? Maybe at the 91st day, I really don't want a cookie.
I'm at least 4 hour cookie free.
There you go. Enjoy cookies, they're good. They are good, But I can still have brownies and cakes and stuff like that. I was over at the Amazon store today and I found an orange crush vanilla cake. I wonder what it's going to taste like. So I bought it. If I don't like it, I'll just give it away to somebody. We all know. But anyways, back to you, Chris.
Well, that's all. Besides being cookie free for at least 3 or 4 hours, it's going to be another busy week. I'll be back out in Allegheny. I'll be out with the Montgomery County Young Republicans this week, and then just going to keep up as much of the momentum as possible. So looking forward to
very good
coming back next week and tell you all about it.
Good one, sir.
Final thoughts, Dave.
Well, snowstorm coming. I'm not looking forward to that, but I'll work on a column then this weekend on Spanberger. I've kind of been too frightened to look and see the damage that's already been done in 48 hours, but since she was inaugurated. But I'll do that this weekend and get a column up on my Substack. And yeah, it's kind of a depressing thing. But it also shows that there's no real difference between a moderate Democrat and a socialist Democrat. I mean, there's not really much of a difference. I think ultimately Zoran Magdalny and Abigail Spanberger are interchangeable, so it doesn't really matter. So, but anyway, I'll be working on that, and then let's hope the snow isn't too bad. But I fear that it will be about as much as they project forecasts. So,
Well, as long as we don't lose power.
that's true. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So my kids are already making plans out through like Wednesday and Thursday of next week. Like they're convinced there's going to be no school next week.
By the way, from experience, I think whenever you do that, it becomes a nothing burger, and you know, like, oh, we were wrong. We only got a dusting.
I tell them.
Yes, but
Hey,
anyway, that's about it.
I'm just glad that the forecasts, have come down.
Yeah. I've got my snow removal.
Has it? What are they calling now for, Don?
They're out here where we are 10 to 14, but they had it closer to 20 before. It was
okay.
So
yeah. I saw this afternoon, 8 to 10.
Yeah, it just depends upon where that band is, and it moves a little bit. We're still, and so we could get if we get more like freezing rain or sleet, that'll be better in a sense than having a lot of snow pile up, but then that just creates very icy and terrible conditions. And I'm just trying to think like, okay, I've got a snow thrower, but what is my tolerance for how much of this am I going to go out there and do versus am I going to, for the first time in my life, pay somebody to come and shovel everything?
We've got OLD, Don. We should just always have. They've got people for that. And you let them use your snow thrower, they'll knock off a few bucks. But so anything else, Dave?
I thought the combination too could be like I could go out there and clear it off a little bit, and then have somebody come back and do the final thing once it's finally all said and done, and just pay them for that, and but it'll be less back breaking for everybody, and maybe I don't have to pay as much. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So anyways, Don, final thoughts.
I'm glad that the House is, for whatever reason, I mean, they're kicking the can down the road, but at least they've got a minibus and they've passed the bills, spending bills. So they've sent that to the Senate. Whenever the Senate comes back into session, they will then wrangle with that, and maybe they can get it to the president's desk by the 30th to avoid another shutdown. I'm sure the Democrats don't want the shutdown, but I was looking and I really didn't see the loud calls like we had the last time around for extending the Obamacare subsidies. Here we are 3 weeks into the new year, and disaster really hasn't struck. Well, statistics are coming out about the exchanges and the subsidies, and showing what's going on here. And I don't, just kind of as we would have expected, it's not as bad as the Democrats said it was going to be, because they are always the sky, Chicken Little, the sky is falling, and it hasn't. People are finding other ways to deal with their healthcare situations. But when the government was paying 80 to 90% of your healthcare bill, and you were well over six figures in income, don't come crying to me if you're not covered to that extent under the new way. If you actually have to go pay a little bit more for your own insurance or find a different insurance plan, you took an expensive program because you're only going to have to pay 10% of the cost. Why not go ahead and get the platinum plan? It's the Democrats totally distorted the market when they extended they enhanced these subsidies a few years ago. So I'd like to see the market become a little more normalized now.
And I'll tell you, Don, the platinum plan, I've got the Cadillac health insurance plan, as they call it, but I'm only using Chevrolet version portion of that Cadillac plan. It's not worth it unless you're really going to use every option you have there, frankly.
Well, that is true in a lot of cases, but if the government is paying for that much of your plan, then you're
That's
probably
true.
going to go ahead and say, I'm going to take the top tier plan, even if I use 10% of the services in a year, because it's not costing me that much and the government's picking up the tab.
Yeah.
It's a complete distortion of the market. It makes no sense.
And mine's not even a government plan. Mine's a Aetna plan.
Yeah. So anyway, that's for that. As I talked before, Trump's had a lot of success. A lot of good things have happened to the past year. Congratulations on J.D. Vance and his wife for expecting another child.
Yes.
I don't remember. Have we had anyone, vice president or president, have a child, a birth of a child while in office?
I thought I said no. I don't think
in the last, during my lifetime, I can't think of one.
They say JFK was the last one.
I remember children getting married, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's, usually the president and vice president had been older, and so they're already past the child rearing days, and then they're now into that next phase of, getting somebody off to college or having them get married. So this is kind of a different thing, because Vance is still a very young guy. And so this is kind of an unusual event, but congratulations to them. Somebody's got to keep the population growing here, because
maybe if Barron gets married, we could have a White House wedding.
Yeah, well,
we could use the new ballroom.
He's got another 3 years, so it's another 3 years to get that done.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned before the soaring price of
gold. Actually, if the president, go ahead.
Yeah, the price of gold and silver, and things, sell the family silver. Well, since I think the last time I talked about this, silver is already up 29% this year. Gold is up 14% this year. This thought occurred to me today. It was like, maybe I should just go ahead and sell my wedding ring, because my fingers got too fat and I can't wear the darn thing anyway. So what I'm wearing now is a substitute. I just bought this at Costco. It's the Aura ring, the sleep ring. And so I'm like, it does double duty. It's tracking my sleep and all this stuff, but I can serve as my wedding band. But consider this: I've been married for 40 years. The price of gold has gone up in that time about 8-fold. So my wedding ring is worth a decent chunk of change. If my wife doesn't complain, maybe I just put it. Maybe I just, when I die, my kids are probably just going to sell it anyway. I might as well take it now. My wife doesn't wear her wedding ring most of the time anyway, so it's kind of like, I don't think a lot of people don't wear their rings as much as they used to, or they buy those other kind of rings that they wear instead, because they don't want to wear their expensive jewelry and risk losing it. So, but yeah, 29% increase just this year alone in silver. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I think my parents' sterling silver set is the time is ticking on how much longer I want to hold on to that thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's it.
That's it. Okay, let's start with a couple of plugs. If you guys are into the old movies and kaiju films made by the great Ishiro Honda and Subaraya, check out Firewood Media. He's got some great retrospectives on it. I love the one he did on Hedra, because I tied that in and gave one of our writers, Ian, an idea to do a movie review, which was Godzilla versus Greta Thunberg. Because Hedra was supposed to be the symbol of pollution. Godzilla, it took a nuclear power plant, which the left hates, to destroy the pollution monster, which I thought was hilarious. And also a programming note tomorrow night, speaking of kaijus, on Svengoolie, it's Godzilla versus King Kong, East meets West. The Clash of the Titans. That's tomorrow night at 8:00 locally on Channel 23 if you got FiOS. And the other stuff is today. I went to the Safeway store just for fun. And And I went there, and the lines weren't that bad, but they were sold out of milk, bananas, potatoes. They're all gone. They were also out of the water too. They had the small bottle waters, but they didn't have the big gallon waters. They were all gone. Relax, guys. This will all be done by Thursday. The roads will be open. People will be out on the streets. How much milk can people? I know the president just endorsed whole milk, but I mean, come on. How much milk can you really drink?
Dwight, every time we get one of these predictions, it's like Armageddon. They go out there and they clean out the shelves. There's a friend of mine on Facebook. He had gone, I think, to the Trader Joe's in DC and in Clarendon, and they were just completely wiped out of stuff. And just like, what do you? Well, I guess you can call that food storage for a few weeks.
But all that stuff goes bad. Like the produce and that stuff has a shelf life. Milk has a shelf life. But it's just funny to see. And people just relax, enjoy. Power down for the next couple of days. Go on the internet But if you've got a generator, that's things will work out better for you if we lose power. I don't think we're going to lose power. I'm kind of optimistic. If we lose power, it's going to be for a couple of days. I mean, the longest I've gone without power was during Hurricane Isabel, and that was 7 days. And then, do you remember we had the derecho a few years ago, Don, in 2006 or 7 or something like that? Or was it 10? It was a while back. I lost power for 5 days then. I mean, granted, those were both during the summer. I think, the winter months, I don't think we're going to lose power that long, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, look, the snow is really not going to be a problem in the case of power in most cases. It's really that if you have overhead power lines on the ice, that that would be the bigger problem. And a lot of the newer developments, power lines are buried, so that leads to less of a chance of losing power. But and if it gets too cold, there's some other issues in terms of how much power generation, how much the grid can take for that. But so we'll have to kind of wait and see and cross our fingers. But I think we're going to, since the predictions of snow are coming down for most of our area, I think we're going to be okay.
And to answer Craig's question, we're roughly about 3 weeks away from the return of the Shamrock Shake at McDonald's. It's probably $5 now this year, opposed to the typical $1 something that it used to be. I think it was $2 last year. It's probably going to be around $5. It might still be around $2.
$2 last year? I don't think so.
Well, what did I pay last year? I did have Shamrock. Okay, that tells you how much I love the Shamrock Shake.
The shake had to be at least $3.50 or $4 last year.
Okay, that just shows how much I love. I ignore the price. Of what it is, And what the funniest thing is, the McDonald's kiosks, sometimes they update the kiosk before they get the stuff. Like I remember I went there and I go, hey, you got Shamrock Shakes. And you're going to go, oh, no, we don't have it. I go, why is it when you're, that's false advertising. So I end up getting a vanilla milkshake, But all in all, that's good. Life's good. We'll see everyone next week. Stay warm.
That's right.
Stay safe.
Stay warm. See you, gents.
And touch some snow, right? As the kids would say. Good night.
Good night.
Let's go down to Missoni, where Italian cuisine shines. Let's go